Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of Season 2 of Marketing Detective. We're so glad that you found us. 2020 was a dumpster fire, if we're going to be very honest, and it changed everything. And it also changed the trends going into 2021. So today, my guest and I are going to be discussing the digital trends to look for in 2021. That's our focus on the Marketing Detective. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Marketing Detective. Today's topic, again, is the 7 digital trends to look out for in 2021. And my guest today is probably one of the most knowledgeable in the digital space. She has risen from south side of San Antonio to the #1 market in America, New York, New York. Yeah, the city's so nice, they named it twice. Ladies and gentlemen, Jessica Gomez. Jessica, thank you so much for joining us today. We love that you are here, and I can't believe it's taken a whole season to convince you to come on the show. But here you are. Oh, you're on mute there. All right.
Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you, so I'll just start out by saying, how in the world did a girl like you get from the south side of San Antonio all the way to the #1 market and now the flagship station for Nexstar?
Yeah, I was a college student and I started out actually as the receptionist, just a part-time job as the receptionist at the CBS affiliate in San Antonio, KENS 5. I think you might be a little familiar with that, Mitch.
I am.
So I started out as a part-time receptionist. I was working 20 hours a week and fell in love with kind of the inner workings of the TV station. Thought I was going to go to school for journalism and had switched my major to do journalism and was working. I actually interned or worked in one way or another in just about every department of the station while I was a part-time receptionist, just filling in for people, working Friday night football in the newsroom, working on Great ASA, the lifestyle show that they had there. So I kind of did a little bit of everything. And I realized really quickly that it wasn't the journalists that had the nicest cars. It was the salespeople.
That's right.
And so I still was going to pursue the journalism thing. But I ended up leaving for a year. And in that year I had a baby. And then I came back. My old boss, Rich Barton, called me and said, "Hey, any chance you want your job back?" And it was part-time, and I had a 3-month-old, so I thought, sure, yeah, this is great. And my dad told me, he said, "Look, that was the last time you were really happy with a job. Go back and wait for something to open up." I was a single mom, and he said, "Look, I'm not retired. I'm still working. As long as I can help you, I will help you. But you need to do something that makes you happy." And so
Great advice
I went
from your
back
dad.
and did that for 9 months when a sales assistant position opened up. And at the time, Boots Walker was the director of sales running the sales department there. And I thought, I really want this full-time job. I want to stay at KENS. KENS was like my home. I feel like I'd grown up there. I went from a college student to a mom, and my daughter, I have pictures of my daughter sleeping on anchors' desks in the newsroom late at night.
Amazing.
When we were doing political nights and Friday night footballs and stuff. So it really was home for me. And I was nervous, though, because I had no experience whatsoever in sales, marketing sales, right? And so one day I showed up to work and I was distributing the mail in the mailroom. And I said, "I'm just going to call Boots and just ask her if she'll just let me interview." So I rang up to her and she answered, and I said, "Hey, Boots, this is Jessica." And she said, "Hey, sugar, how you doing?" In her very South Carolina accent.
Seven, yes, yeah.
And
Boots Walker.
That's right. And so I said, I noticed that the sales assistant position opened up, and I'd really, I know that I don't have a whole lot of experience or any experience, but I can learn anything. And she said, are you trying to talk yourself out of a job or talk me into giving you a job? And I said, well, no, I just am asking for an opportunity to interview with you. She said, all right, well, come on up here. And I said, now? And she said, yeah, come on up here. Come on now. And I was so nervous. I was in no way prepared. I hadn't had a chance to ask what the role was about and really do my research. And so I went up there and I spoke to her. And about 20 minutes in, she said, all right, well, let me make this phone call. And so I was about to get up and leave her office. And she said, no, sit there. And she called Rich Spartan, my boss. And she said, hey, Rich, I got Jessica in my office. And he said, oh, God, I kind of know what this is about. She said, yeah, I'm going to take down my posting for sales assistant, but you need to put one up for a receptionist. And so she gave me a shot, even though I had no experience. And I started out as a sales assistant. And then about 6 months after I started, Boots left. She moved out of Texas, went back home to South Carolina for the next, phase and journey of her life. And Sarah Fulmer came and took over the sales department. And about 6 weeks into Sarah's, stint as DOS, there was just something so magnetic about her, and so there was just something about her.
She's a great lady.
So I asked for a one-on-one with her, which sales assistants do not do. And she accepted and said, sure. And I went into her office, and long story short, I asked her to be my mentor. I said, I'm not needy. If you teach me something once, you'll never have to teach it to me again. But I have a daughter. Failure is not an option. That's not a luxury that I have anymore. And, I didn't finish school, but I just need a shot, Sarah. And she said, okay, I'm still trying to get, the department together in the way that I want it. And so here's the advice I'll give you is make yourself indispensable. And
great advice.
So I did. And she said, any job that nobody else wants, you take it and you do it well. And so I did that. I covered for traffic. I did all of the PowerPoint presentations. I worked under the new business development manager, helping her roll out different station initiatives.
And let me ask you something about, that, you said you hadn't been able to finish school. That has always been such a roadblock. Many media groups just don't let you do that. They won't even let you interview. And so I really commend not only Boots, but also to Sarah for seeing that talent that was there. And I think that's very commendable. And I think, I always encourage people, I don't care if you have a degree, that's great. For me, it says you started something and you finished something, but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to have a conversation because somebody took a shot at me. I fortunately do have a degree, but somebody took a shot on me back in the day, and I shared that when I shared my story with Auburn University that I did not have enough TV sales experience, but yet they gave me a shot. So she gives you this opportunity to become a salesperson, or did you move into the digital realm? Where did that go from under Sarah there at Ken's?
Yep. So I kind of went into this hybrid role where I was more of an account manager, kind of managing the house accounts that we were holding on to when we were getting ready to bring a new account executive in, and worked under Erica Grimm, who taught me about make goods and would take me into her office and say, we're going to call this client and this is our goal and this is how we're going to do it. And she was just teaching me and empowering me all along the way. And then they were having a 2-day training at the country club across the street for the salespeople. And Sarah asked me to make name badges for it, right? Something as simple as name badges. I said, okay, sure. And then the night before we were going to go, I was packing everything up for them, making sure they had what they needed. And Sarah said, you know what, Jessica, why don't you come to the country club tomorrow? And why don't you just be there just in case we need something, hand out the name badges, just help out with whatever we might need. I said, okay, sure. So I got, dressed up, my blazer and everything. And I went, and at our first coffee break around 10 a.m., Sarah invited me to sit at her table with her group. And what it was it was Center for Sales Strategy training, and with Elena McComas, who is like
Yeah,
my
she's
digital.
pretty amazing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And those 2 days, what I learned in those 2 days made me fall in love with digital marketing. And I participated in the exercise at the end of those 2 days where the group that you were in, they removed the managers and the sellers had to, pitch, go through an entire presentation and pitch a campaign.
Yeah, learn as you
And
do. Learn as you do. Yeah.
and they asked if I wanted to sit out, and I said, absolutely not. I want to pitch. And so I pitched, and I think Sarah and the rest of the managers thought, didn't know that was there. So that was kind of the beginning of my sales journey, right? When I fell in love with it, I moved into a digital marketing specialist role where I was assigned to half of the team, and we went on, four-legged calls, and I helped them make sure that they were hitting their digital budgets and getting as much revenue from their existing linear clients as possible.
Yeah.
And then I moved into a digital account executive role. And then really the life-changing opportunity for me was Sarah had moved on from Ken's and she had gone to work for CW33 in Dallas. And they were rolling out all of their extended reach services. And, I told Sarah that I thought it was time for me to move on from Ken's, and unless she had a job for me, could I use her as a reference? And she said, absolutely. But, you wouldn't come to work in Dallas even if I asked you to. And I said, I absolutely would if it was to work for you. And she said, okay, talk to everybody you need to talk to, think it over the weekend and think about it over the weekend and let me know. And I told her on Monday morning, yes, absolutely. She said, give me 6 weeks. And 2 weeks later, I had an offer letter in my email. And 2 weeks after that, I moved to Dallas on Super Bowl Sunday, February 1st, 2015, and started work February 2nd as the digital sales manager for CW33 and spent 5.5 years there.
Okay, so before we move on from Ken's, of course, I also worked at Ken's, worked under Boots, and Sarah, I never knew this, Jessica. We've known each other a long time now. I was an account executive at Ken's and came back to Dallas to be a digital sales manager. I mean, it is crazy, and under the same leadership. I mean, Sarah had moved on from when you were there, so I just never knew that. Maybe this is why we have such a connection, the two of us. But I love that, and I had the privilege of working with you. Sarah did give me some advice upon introducing you to me as we were transitioning from what was Tribune to Nexstar, and I had the privilege of being able to work with the station in Dallas. And she made a statement to me and said, Jessica has more knowledge of digital marketing in her pinky than you have in your entire body. And I have to say, she was right. She was absolutely right. I feel like I'm pretty good at this,
I think you are, man.
But and it was just such an incredible opportunity for us to get to know each other. There was a lot of rebuilding. You became that advocate for me in that building to talk about the Nexstar way and how and why we have a philosophy of going to market, the consultative model of finding what the needs are and meeting those needs. And you were just tremendous at it until one day you called me, and I will never forgive you for this call. And you said, I wanted to let you know before this goes public, but I have accepted a position with WPIX, which at the time was a Scripps station, correct? And what I think, I don't even remember what I said. I think I said, well, I can't stand in your way. This opportunity is just too great. But did I not say we will work together again one day?
You did. You did.
So tell us about that move, because you moved in the height of a pandemic. So what was that like?
Yeah, insane, insane. So I accepted the job, and luckily for me, I have a cousin who's been in the tri-state area for quite some time. And the plan was always that when we moved, she was going to homeschool my daughter with her two younger sons, my daughter's cousins. And that was before pandemic and homeschooling was cool, right? So that was always the plan. And so I needed to start. I worked at CW33 through like March the 3rd, I think, either the 2nd or the 3rd. And then I started work like March 7th or something like that. So it was very, very quick. It was like 1 week's time. And I had done some apartment hunting when I had come up for the interview and stuff like that, but I hadn't found anything and didn't have anything locked in. So luckily I had my cousin to stay with. So I came up for my first week of work and planned to stay for 2 weeks and look at apartments and get something leased and then go back, pack up, get my daughter and make the move. Well, I went to work Monday. Amazing, the great, amazing New York experience, right in the subway.
Oh yeah,
Through Grand Central
living the
Station.
dream, living the dream.
Yeah, I mean, it was surreal, right? And I got 4 glorious days of that, Mitch. And then Thursday, all week there was this talk of this virus, right? And it was the buzz of the newsroom and the entire station, and that energy that comes with a news station, right?
Yeah.
It's infectious, right?
Oh, it is. I love going down to the newsroom when news was breaking because I just love to just sit and watch this orchestration because that's what it was. It was like an orchestra and everyone had their parts and it was pretty amazing. So I do get where you're coming from.
Yeah. So it was all this buzz, right? And all of these kind of different opinions on, is this virus real? Is it bad? Is it more than the flu? Is it worse, less than the flu? All of this, we were all just trying to figure it out with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And so Thursday, they said, our boss said, take your laptops home. Everybody work from home on Friday. And then the plan was that we were going to do like skeleton crew, like a red team, blue team coming in skeleton crew every like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Tuesday, Thursday, or whatever that may be. And then that Sunday night, our boss texted us at like 9 or something at night and said, everybody hop on this call this conference call number. And he said, things are getting crazy. I don't know when we'll be back in the office. You can come in one time, pick up everything that you might need, and then you work from home indefinitely. And I don't know how long this is going to last. And luckily for me, I didn't have anything in my office.
You've been there for 4 days. Yeah.
And so right after that call, he called me and he said, look, Jessica, I know that, your daughter's not here. She's in Texas. It doesn't matter to me whether you work from New Jersey, New York, or Texas if we're not going to be in the office. So I really think if you want to get to your kid, you should get on a plane and get to her as soon as you can.
That was very thoughtful.
Yeah, it was amazing of him. And he said, just, be ready to hop on a plane back when I call you.
Yeah.
And so that Monday morning, I flew out and showed up at home at my apartment in Dallas. And I actually worked from Dallas through September. And then I made the move halfway across the country. And, it was like this weird thing because the virus, right? Like you want movers, but you don't want movers, and you don't want to fly. And it was just like this very complicated thing. And I thought, what, my daughter didn't get the vacation that we wanted to give her for her 10th birthday. And, it's just been this weird time. So I'm going to make this fun. So we actually did the move over about 2 weeks, and we stopped and got a beautiful condo Airbnb on the beach in Gulf Shores, Alabama, visiting a friend of ours. We stopped and visited with my sister in Tennessee, and then made a stop in Roanoke, and then came up to Jersey City. And I've been a Jersey City resident since.
And you're in a beautiful brownstone. It's a walk up.
Built in the 1800s, which blows my mind.
Yeah. Well, that's New York, New Jersey. It's not cheap. So Now, you've got exciting things going on there at PIX. I mean, where you're standing right now is your social media center. And I think we have a video that we're going to queue up for us to show a little bit of that. And then it will come back to us, Jessica, and you can kind of tell us a little bit more about that special place.
This is where we peel back the layers of the hot button topics
MTA one day, NYCHA one day,
that are defining the tone of the conversation.
Melissa Mitchell brings up a very good point.
In your schools, in your neighborhoods, and your home.
Because you have spoken.
So this is incredible, this set. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I have to give credit where credit is due first and foremost. This is the brainchild of a colleague of mine, Elle Spector, one of the most brilliant digital managers, marketing managers I've ever met. She's so creative and so innovative. So I want to give her a shout out because I love working with her. And this really is her baby. And so she wanted to design this fully functional, fully digital studio, complete with a set, right? Obviously, as a news station, there's got to be some separation of church and state, right? When it comes to what I do on the sales side and what we do for our clients. But even beyond that, in terms of content, what goes on air, it doesn't always translate digitally, right, to what people want to see and consume and kind of digest that information. And so she knew that, and she had this vision for this space that actually is an award-winning space. And I'm going to read this because I don't want to get it wrong.
Oh, no, it's won 2 major awards, Yeah,
it won a Moro Award for innovation and social media, and it won an Emmy Award for interactivity, dealing with interactive strategy and content.
That's incredible.
So it's a really great space. I'm disappointed that I haven't really got to enjoy it as much because it did shut down after COVID. But it's a great space, and we can't wait to get people back in here, people from the community telling their stories. And this is really a safe space for our anchors, where they can like not be an anchor sitting behind a desk and really interact with the community in an intimate way, right? Through Facebook Live and stuff like that. And so it's a great space for our anchors and our news team and our digital team. But it's also a great space for our clients.
I was going to ask you, because this is, content marketing is one of the outside of just a trend, because that's a given. Everyone needs to be doing content marketing, and places like here at On Air Media, they produce that kind of stuff. But now you're giving a tool to the users and the business owners and advertisers in your market to create that content right there. Are they able to do that?
Yeah. We've done everything from, bringing in animals that need to be adopted. That was, sponsored by a particular client of ours. The furniture that you see on the set was actually sponsored by a really large furniture client. And so there's a lot of opportunity for product placement, storytelling, community outreach, and overall just kind of brand awareness and information gathering and giving, right? So it's a great space.
I can't wait. I'm going to be up there the 19th of April for our glorious review preview, and I won't bore everybody else in the world about what a review preview is, but if you've been through one, they are long and tedious. But I'm going to shift gears here because we want to get to our topic today. And thank you for being so candid about your journey, Jessica. I think it just endures. I learned something new. And by the way, 2 famous names that came out of Ken's 5 television, besides me and Jessica, of course, was Megan Alexander, who went on to do Inside Edition, which she still does. And she's also on NFL on CBS, and I also call as a friend Ainsley Earhart, who is on Fox and Friends Monday through Friday, and it was kind of cool. It's just cool to see that could be such a great Foundation. And by the way, Kurt Davis, another friend of mine who's the news director, is now head of CBS affiliate relations out of New York. So, we got a pretty cool group of people that we got to know and work with there.
Really do.
Yeah. So these 7 trends, the first here is live stream and increase in influencer content. And I felt like this was the best way to tee it up, was to actually talk about your social media center that you're sitting in right now. What are your thoughts on the growth of this particular trend?
Yeah, I mean, influencer marketing has been, grow on the rise for years, right? Basically, since social media was around and people realized, hey, they could have a voice and a platform all their own without having to be on TV or on radio. But I do think that COVID created another shift, right? I think it created 2 shifts in the influencer marketing space. When influencer marketing was in its infancy stages, all the brands thought they wanted the celebrity influencer and the macro influencer, right? So celebrity is considered 500,000 or more followers. Macro is 100,000 followers to 500,000 followers. And so that was kind of like the unwritten rule of like, if a brand was going to work with somebody, they needed a minimum of the 100,000 followers. And then as it grew and brands started to learn, and this was a space that more people were playing in, both content rise as becoming an influencer and brands partnering with them. Then they introduced the micro influencer, right? Those are the people that have 10,000 to 100,000 fans. And so it was already trending in that way. But when COVID hit, right at the peak of COVID, like in the summer of 2020, the nano influencer became a thing, right? And so that's somebody that has, 1,000 to 5,000 followers.
And what was that name again? What is the name of that influencer? The nano?
A nano influencer.
The nano influencer. See, I learned something new every day, Jessica.
So the nano influencer became a thing, right? It had kind of been around, but in summer 2020, it became a thing. And what brands started to realize is that the second shift was, the numbers mattered differently. Which numbers mattered changed.
Yeah.
It wasn't about the number of the following. It's now about the number of influencers that you're partnering with whose followers really, really match your target audience, right? Regardless of how big or small that following is.
Yeah.
And so we saw that shift. And then the other thing was the second shift that COVID brought for influencer marketing is people were home more than ever and they had more time than they've ever had before. So they were creating more content than ever before. And so that really changed the brands using influencer marketing from just like, hey, throwing up a static post and a picture of me wearing this necklace or whatever the case may be and tagging them in it. Now it's really heavy Facebook lives, Instagram lives, Instagram stories, all of those things that are being featured. And so I think that trend is just going to keep going with different ways to showcase these, services, products, or whatever it is. And brands are looking more for relationships. They don't want one-off posts. They want somebody to kind of be the face of, or the faces of their brand. So I think those
to
are
carry
kind of
on that conversation. Yeah. The second trend was called more goodwill and purpose-driven missions from brands. And I want to read a quote from Hootsuite Social Trends. And Hootsuite, if you're not familiar, was a great product. They do have a free version of Hootsuite. That's why I promote it, because I want there to be a free version of something for some of our users and local business owners. But they said the smartest brands will understand where they fit into customers' lives on social media, and they'll find creative ways of fitting into the conversation. What are your thoughts about that goodwill? Here's one on the screen. Here is Hilton partnering with American Express to donate to 1 million rooms, 1 million rooms of nights for healthcare heroes. What are your thoughts on this particular trend, Jessica?
Yeah, so, cause marketing has been around for a while. As a matter of fact, there was an entire shoes brand that was born in 2006 that built their entire brand on cause marketing. Do you know which one that was, Mitch?
I can't remember the name, but I know they donate a pair of shoes to a third world country
Yes,
for every
Tom's.
Tom's. Yes.
Tom's. Yep, it was the one for one, right?
Yeah.
And so they started that. Warby Parker took on the buy a pair, give a pair cause marketing, right? And during COVID, they shifted that to basically they're not doing the buy a pair, give a pair anymore. They're using the profits to provide PPE and healthcare supplies, preventative healthcare supplies for healthcare workers, right? And Tom's realized after giving away 95 million pairs of shoes that was not really sustainable for them, but they still give a third, 33.3% of all their profits to charities in third world countries. Yes.
Look at you knowing the actual percentage. Somebody came to play today. That's for sure. That's amazing.
I like research, but I've also, my daughter and I have been a fan of Tom since she was born. So.
Oh, nice. Well, as we move down the list, the next one is user-generated content. And again, you're in a space that you can create some of that content. How important is that to the customer experience?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing brand ambassador programs pop up everywhere, right? Lululemon is actually a good example. They have a brand ambassador program, and they want to feature all of their customers wearing their clothes, right? Their yoga pants, if you will. And 2020 was the year to do that, right? So it's basically the same thing that people do when they add reviews to their website, right? But this is on steroids because they use it for marketing purposes. They're sharing it on social media, and then they're incentivizing people with these brand ambassador programs. So they're not paying for marketing per se. These brand ambassador programs, they're giving up some merchandise, right, in exchange for this post or this share or whatever the case may be. So I think that's growing and probably not going away anytime soon.
Yeah. As we tee up the next trend, I want to share a stat with you. This is actually from 2001, right after 9/11. The Pew Research did a survey of 100,000 participants around the country, and they asked the question about retail and why you would go to a particular retailer or not go to a retailer. Was it over price, or was it about giving back to the community where you felt like if you shopped there, you were giving back? And that was a game changer because it was also the same year that Walmart started donating millions of dollars in these communities. So they would come into a market. I know we had one in DeSoto or Duncanville, and it's like, we gave $1 million, but then they got on television and spent about $10 million to tell us about the million that they gave away. But a perception became reality because people said, well, I'm shopping at Walmart, because they were trying to clean their image. They had put out a lot of small mom and pops out of business, and they were trying to create this image that they were giving back to the community because I stopped making stuff in the USA. Remember, that's how they started. Everything was made in the USA, and then that quickly went away when it wasn't profitable. Sorry, Walmart, if anybody's works for them. Listen, great company. My aunt retired from Walmart, so you guys have done a good job. But as we move this emphasis to sustainability, I mean, we're talking a lot about the environment. What are your thoughts about companies that are kind of embracing this idea of sustainability and being a part of the solution rather than the problem, Jessica?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's great, right? People are worried now more than ever with global warming and the myriad of environmental issues that we are dealing with across the world right now. People are worried about the world that we're leaving behind for our children and our grandchildren and the generations to come. And so they want to do business with people that, have the same concerns that they do and are really trying to affect change. And so I think that's great. I think that sometimes when it comes to anything that is kind of this brand activism, right, regardless of what that's about, whether it's environmental or other, it's about putting your money where your mouth is, right?
Yeah.
So you can't just say, hey, we donated $1 million. If your actual production, right? If your actual process of doing business is actually doing more harm than it is good, and it's costing $10 million worth of damage to the ozone or whatever the case may be, right? So that's my only piece of advice to any company that's thinking about green marketing or sustainable marketing, is just make sure that you're following it up with action. That's all.
Looking at this next one, we're talking about inclusivity will be key in 2021. An interesting, we lived through the Black Lives Matter movement last year, and of course that movement continues and is significant and very important, and really showing that Black Lives Matter as well. And by going there and being and working with companies that are part of their value system. And I got a stat here. It says that 41% of shoppers shifting away from retailers which don't reflect their views on identity and diversity. And I thought that was really interesting. It says 29% are willing to switch brands completely if they don't show enough diversity. What advice could you give to these companies out there that are kind of sitting on the sideline and not taking a stand on this stuff?
This is a tricky one, right? Because this is not a fad. And that's something that companies need to realize. Don't jump on this, brand activism bandwagon just because you think it's trendy or it's a fad. It's not. It's a real issue. It's not going away. So number one, be sincere, right? Really, really be sincere. Make sure that whatever that message is that you're putting out, whatever the stance is that you're taking on any, whether it's Black Lives Matter or, no kids in cages that are trying to, help end family separation at the border, whatever those issues are, right? And you're going to take a stance on that. Make sure that it is sincere at the core of the company, right? And the brand. Two, put your money where your mouth is, right? So again, similar to the environmental issue with the same sustainable marketing, you can't take a stance and not follow it up with real action or investment.
I love that. You can't take a stand without taking action. Yeah, I like that.
And then lastly, number three is if you can't do both 1 and 2, then don't do anything at all. But beware that consumers are listening and hearing your silence loud and clear as well too.
Man, you need to put that on a t-shirt. Say that one more time.
If you can't do both 1 and 2, then sit this one out. But be really aware of the fact that consumers are hearing your silence loud and clear.
Hearing your silence loud and clear. Wow. And then the next trend has really kind of come its own in the last year and a half, and that's an increase in voice and visual search, and in particular, really changing the vernacular. For example, you no longer have to ask Google or Siri or anyone, what's the best Chinese restaurant in Columbus, Ohio. Instead, it could be what's the best pad thai, and it already knows that's going to give you a range of about 10 miles around you. What other advice could you give our advertisers and business owners that are needing to kind of change some of their search parameters?
Yep. So we all have an Alexa or 4 in our house, right? And so we get the whole audio search thing. I think a lot of people are now using Google Lens for visual search as well. I actually have a story about that, if I can tell it, Mitch. Just this past Passover, we went to go spend time at a friend's house who invited us.
I did. I saw that post.
For our first Seder dinner, and it was wonderful. Well, the youngest son of this family, his name is Asher. Asher has been begging his parents for a pet, right? And one day, a couple days before Passover, the kids were at the park and they found a snail. And my little cousin thought this was the perfect early birthday gift for Asher. He could finally have a pet. So the snail went home, her name is Shelly. And Shelly the snail is now there, and I get to, I go over for Passover. I meet Shelly the snail, and after dinner, the kids decide that she needs a better ecosystem, right? She needs a better environment. They're going to upgrade her from the plastic cup that she was in, which was wonderful. And so they start asking us all these questions, and we're like, we don't know anything about snails. My 10-year-old goes and grabs her phone, pulls out Google Lens, and within 20 minutes, they knew the expected lifespan of the snail, what it ate, all of this kind of stuff.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
And it was amazing. And these are 10-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
And so this is only going to get more and more prominent as these kids grow older.
I have to make a comment along those lines. I love that. And boy, the conversations you and your daughter have are hilarious. Anyway, I would digress. But I was flying into a market, and the flight attendant. It was a long flight. The flight attendant said, now, if you need directions to where your next flight is, you can open up the American Airlines app and find out where the gate is, or just hand your phone to a 6-year-old and she'll do it for you. And the play just erupted in laughter. This isn't one of the trends, but it is something that's happening now. And I just want to get your take on this because I've lived it. Ron Corney and I, a couple of years ago, were at a brunch. Brunch is the gayest meal of the week. So we were on a Sunday afternoon after church at Lift Community Church. We went to brunch, and we were talking about the value of the TSA versus Clear. And I had TSA, and then I also have Clear. Clear's a little more expensive. And I had signed up for Clear, but my husband wasn't signed up, and Ron wasn't signed up for Clear. We got out to the parking lot waiting on our car, because again, nobody parks anywhere in Dallas. You just valet. And he picks up his phone, opens up Facebook or something, and sees an ad, join Clear today. I'm standing next to him. I get an ad that says, add family members for just $50 more at Clear. Now, I had actually said the words, well, I'm signed up for Clear, but Adam isn't. And I just want to get your take, because people don't realize that our devices are listening to us. What is your take? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Look, social listening is real.
Yeah.
That is a real life example. Anybody else who wants to do it, I guarantee you that my phone is probably going to show me a clear message now.
And if it does, you've got to screenshot it and send it to me.
I will, absolutely. But it's just the way of the world, right? And people are like, oh my God, when I tell them what I do and I try to explain it, they're like, you're with Big Brother, they get kind of freaked out.
They think you're part of the enemy. Yeah.
And look, it's happening whether we want it to or not, right? And this is what I tell advertisers that are like, oh, it's like gives me the heebie-jeebies. I'm like, look, it's happening whether we want it to or not.
Just embrace it.
You may as well use this intelligence as a way to expand your business and grow your revenue, because whether you like it or not, it's going on.
And I don't mind really that it's listening to me, because, I would be upset if it was like sending me deer stands and hunting gear, because that's not what I'm into. But it always sends me the stuff that I'm already interested in. So it just makes my life a little bit easier. The last trend, and I ended with this one for many reasons, because we're actually on a podcast, and that's easy to consume content. And of course, this is my second season of doing a podcast. We produce a lot of podcasts right from this center here at On Air Media. We've got great folks like Jason and Ben who are working behind the scenes to make sure that the show goes over well. What are your thoughts on being able to create this? Because you don't have to be in a nice studio like this to do it. You can do it from your home. What are your thoughts on that, and how does that really position them as an expert?
Yeah, podcasts have been around a long time, and they're going to be around a long time to come.
Yeah.
It's not changing. People are doing amazing things with just their cell phone. I asked you the other day when you sent out a video to the company or to your region, I thought, what did you shoot that on? That looks amazing. And you said your iPhone, whatever number, right? And I was amazed by that. I was a little irritated because I'm team Android, but still, it was amazing. So yeah, I think it's really making social media and the technology that's going on with our phones is making having a platform accessible to anybody, right?
Yeah.
I don't. Have you heard of Clubhouse, Mitch?
I have. I don't know a lot about it. I've heard the name.
It's like I don't even have access to it yet, but it's like if podcasting and Zoom kind of made
Had a
a baby,
baby?
I guess. It's like a drop-in audio conversation on just about any topic,
Huh.
right? So you can like look up this topic and join the conversation. It's like a Zoom room. There's one person who creates the room, that's the moderator. I can't wait until I can actually access it on my phone. But also Twitter at the beginning of the year, they released a feature that is allowing users to tweet audio messages. So they get it, right? User generated content. People want things that are easy to listen to. And to your point, 100, did you know this stat? You probably did because you're a podcaster, but 100 million Americans listen to at least one podcast a month.
I did know that.
That's amazing.
It is. It is. I listened to a podcast on my walk today. I was able to listen to the West Wing Weekly, which was a limited series, and I listened to the last episode, which was about the last episode of the West Wing, greatest show ever written on the face of the earth. And I was just, the whole cast came back to talk about their views and ending it the way they did. And it was absolutely amazing. And I found myself laughing out loud on the Katy Trail while I was walking and just knowing how entertained I was by hearing these great stories and some things that I didn't know. I'll throw out a factoid. Stockard Channing was not the original actress that they wanted to play the First Lady, Abigail Bartlett. It was Mia Farrow.
Okay, can I give you a confession?
Yes.
I've never seen The West Wing.
Well, this episode's never going to air.
But I will now. I'll go look for
Go check it out. It's on HBO Max. If you have HBO Max, it's there. I also have every DVD season. So if you've got an old DVD, I could ship you a couple of seasons. It will change your life in many, many ways. No. So as we're wrapping up here, thank you so much for this incredible conversation today. Before we kind of I do a final thoughts here, and I share with everyone what I've learned in today's podcast. So it's kind of my signature move, that and the electric slide. So before we go, could you share with our audience how they can find you, Jessica?
Sure. You can go to facebook.com/Jess, Jess, Zoe, Zoey. That's my daughter's name. Instagram at la.vida.lovely. And that's an ode to my San Antonio days, everything. I speak Spanglish very
Nice.
fluently. You can find me on LinkedIn, Jessica Gomez, connected to WPIX as a digital sales manager. And you can email me at jegomez, jegomez @nextstar.tv.
Awesome. So as we wrap up today, did I miss a cue from my how to find us, or we can do that in a minute? No, we haven't done that. Okay. We're kind of loosey-goosey here on the show. Let me just share a couple of final thoughts that I've learned today. First of all, learned that connection that both of us worked at the same station and came back to the same city to be managers, digital sales managers at different stations, which I think is just amazing. You have an amazing tenacity and an incredible drive. And for you to have gone from a receptionist in a top 35 market, from there to the 5th largest market, to the largest market in the country, what an incredible message it sends to minorities, it sends to women, and it sends to anyone. And I really admire that about you, Jessica. I love that you said, teach me once and you'll never have to teach me again. I love that. Failure is not an option. You go, I have a baby, I've got to take care of her, so failure is just not an option. And then as we were talking about sustainability and about Black Lives Matter, that you've got to take a stand, but you can't take a stand without action. You've got to be doing something tangible to move the cause in the right direction. And then I'll end on this one. If you don't stand up and make your voice heard, your silence will be loud and clear to your audience. Wow. Some great takeaways. Jessica, thank you so much for joining us today and being my guest. This has been a fun hour to spend with you. And to our audience, if you have a question or a podcast suggestion, or there's a mystery you'd like us to solve on our future podcast, email me at mwest@nextstar.tv and put Marketing Detective in the subject line. Well, folks, I hope we solved some mysteries here today on the Marketing Detective, talking about the 7 digital trends to look out for in 2021. Until next time, America, I'm Mitch West.